Hello, friend. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Mr. Robot Season 4, Episode 10. It is called 410 Gone. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. This one, very different pacing from the last episode. The last episode was a very big, action-packed, climactic, everything's coming together, whooshing feel of a rush, and then this one is aftermath, and specifically the aftermath of two characters, because there's very little Elliot in this episode.
Yeah, he's got like one scene.
He's got one scene, and then I knew that was going to be his only scene. See, since the time the scene ended, I knew that was him veering off, and we're going to stick with Dom and Darlene. Partly because the previously on was nothing about Dom and Darlene.
I mean, even the episode description for this was just like, we stand Domleen. I'm like,
yes.
Okay, I know what this episode is.
So this is very much, at the very least, Dom's goodbye. I don't think it's actually Darlene's goodbye completely, for a couple of different reasons. But I mean, if something hadn't been said last week, it could have been. It might have even been her goodbye as well. There's a conclusion to her as a story here. However, there's more to do with her. So
there is, yeah.
So yeah, we'll get into it in a minute. And before we start, I will address last week. I couldn't remember if Darlene had ever addressed Mr. Robot directly, and honestly, as soon as someone brought up a specific moment, it was actually quite obvious, because back at the start of season 3, when she's spying on Elliot because Mr. Robot's doing things behind his back, the whole segment where he was working with Angela. Yeah. She was keeping tabs on him during that. So. Yeah, sorry, it's been 2 years since season 3, right? Things waver. We start the episode off. News broadcast is talking about the I was going to say the hack. I won't call it that because that's 5'9". 5'9" is the hack, but talking about the doxing of the Deus group and the fallout, and how they've not really confirmed everything that was released as true, but they've confirmed a little bit of it, so it's starting to look more and more likely that everything's real.
Yeah, and they talk about how they've connected Zhang with White Rose.
Yeah. Well, that comes up in a second, because it's after we pull back and we see Dom in the bed, and she's had surgery, and it's not until she says something later to the nurse where she said, "Oh, the doctor said the surgery went well, and I'm fine. As long as I don't open my stitches, we're good." But she's being addressed by someone from the FBI, and it turns out that she has actually turned over all of her information. She's been keeping notes on everything that's been happening, and this dark army kind of spell where she's been forced to sort of work for them. And he's like, okay, we're going to check all this out. You're suspended, or you're on administrative leave was the phrase he used. Yes. For 6 months, and you're going to have to be cleared. You're probably going to have a record and all the rest of it. At no point was there any, I felt like this woman was forced into this with her family being threatened, and found a way to come out the other end actually telling you everything and getting out of it. And yet his tone is nothing but, "Oh, you did mess up, didn't you?"
I think it's more their attitude. I suspect is with the FBI. You should have come to us. We could have figured it out as a whole gang.
As a whole gang.
I'm not saying they're right. I'm assuming that's their attitude.
I love the idea when you go to Quantico. You're being sort of brought in for the first time. I love the idea the director of the FBI coming and going, "Hey buddies, you're joining a fun gang here at the Federal Bureau of Investigation."
I'm not gonna lie, I can see the director doing that. just for shits and giggles.
Oh, just patting everyone on the back for a good job. So there's a small moment here where she sees the Zhang news and sort of realizes, because it was in the previous on the moment where she was investigating him, or not even investigating him, just talking to him. And the dress conversation was there.
Very memorable episode, because it had some quite good action in it as well.
It did. I also believe all of his clocks sent us on a bit of a rabbit hole as it went with the time travel stuff. I think that was the same episode anyway. I could, because it was definitely in the same sort of room he was showing her.
It was around that period, I'm sure.
So yeah, and notably, he also says to the FBI guy, says, "What you need is a good night's sleep," which is kind of a recurring theme throughout the episode. So she's not allowed to see her family, because she has to go see them, and he's like, "You're not allowed to, not until you're cleared." And she's like, "What? I'm not cleared to see my family?" And he's like, "No, not really." So she's not being trusted to even visit her own family. So that's a bit of a. I mean,
it's a bit shit, isn't it?
Forgive the expression here, given what happened to her, but it's a twisting the knife a little bit. But she insists on leaving after he leaves. She's like, "No, nurse, I want out." Doctor said, "I'm fine." And she's like, "Well, yeah, you can leave against medical advice, but nope, that's what I'm doing. I'm going." And of course, she's taken out in a wheelchair to the exit, and she wants to get a cab. And it really emphasizes here, the nurse or whoever's helping her. He says, you have to have someone come pick you up. We give you anesthesia. You're not allowed to leave with a stranger in a cab or go home yourself. You have to have someone with you. And he says no friends or family. And of course, we know the situation with that. But I thought what really stuck out to me here from just like a sort of character beat is when he says, "What about the people from the FBI who were here earlier? What, can't you call some of them?" And she's kind of like, says, "No, definitely not." And what I thought was interesting here is that the FBI has always been the thing that she has relied in and believed in. It's always been her rock. It's like, she doesn't want to betray the FBI because she really believes in her job. But now that's kind of something she can't trust anymore.
Even on that, it's interesting that it's always been the ideal of the organization of the FBI, not any of the individual people.
Yeah, and so it's a really sort of downbeat moment for her, and she kind of sits there, wants to leave, and he gives them trouble. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to get security if you try and leave." And she's like, "Fine, fine." She sits down and, goes from there. She gets home, and she makes a grilled cheese sandwich, and Darlene shows up.
She's obviously still paranoid because she's got a big, chest of drawers in front of the door.
Of course, yeah. Why wouldn't she be paranoid?
No, but I think it's particularly showcased with just how heavy this is, and obviously just she's just come out of surgery. The exertion could just open her stitches. Yet she has no hesitation about having this there at all times.
Yeah,
because as soon as Darlene's in, she starts moving it back and says, "Hey, what's the point? We're going anyway." And she just still moves it over.
Yeah, Darlene kind of fights her way inside, and essentially kind of like says, "No, we have to go. You have to leave. Me and Elliot have got a plan. Let's get out of here. Come on, we can go. We got fake passports. We got everything. We're ready to rock and roll." And she's like, "Nope, not going anywhere. I'm staying here until I'm cleared so I can see my family," which we know from the conversation is, 6. Well, I mean, she's on leave for 6 months. She may get cleared before then, but probably not going to be a quick process. I wouldn't
have thought so. No.
Yeah. And she's eating her grilled cheese. She seems very nonchalant about the whole thing. What I really thought I liked here is going to some of the themes that come up in the episode, is that she ignores Darlene's concerns, and she, like in the shot, actually walks past Darlene and talks to Alexa. She says, "Alexa, play, music by this artist," whoever it was. Yeah. But I noticed just in the shot, she actually walks past her to do it. She kind of like brushes past Darlene and says, "Hey, Alexa, my best pal, you play me some music," essentially.
Yeah. I forgot just how much Dom was a shill for Alexa.
she's getting that check from Amazon. Do you know what would be really funny? It'd be really funny if Alexa as an idea had actually disappeared since 2015, and this would actually be really funny because that actually didn't last a few years.
Didn't really take off, did it? I think not that it necessarily took off.
Yeah, I would debate that it did take off per se.
I mean, it's at a similar. I feel like all these kind of voice assistants
they exist.
Honestly, I feel that they are more than they were in 2015. Like a Google Nest and stuff, to connect to like all your stuff in your home.
Oh, they absolutely are. I feel like for the most part though, like they happen to come with things you otherwise would be getting anyway, rather than anyone's actually kind of sought out voice control, like yeah. Amazon puts it into all their Fire Stick remotes and stuff like that. Alexa, show me that. I'm like, but no one really cares. Like, you still get it if you didn't have that.
Yeah, no, it's true. My new TV just came with the Google Assistant. I'm like, am I ever going to use that when I've got a remote, and the remote came with a keyboard on the back, so I don't even have to put up with shitty TV arrow typing. I can just type.
I mean, yeah, there's always that small concern of everything having a speaker now. Like, it's just there to be hacked into.
More of a microphone than a speaker, I think, is the concern. But
that's what I meant. Yes, microphone. Yeah, the point was picking up what you're saying, not. Yeah.
Because that's the thing. The idea that yes, they only activate when you say their trigger word, but they have to be always on to register when the trigger word is said.
Exactly. So, don't say it, and you don't want the government to be hearing in your own home if you have any of these devices.
Which let's be honest, you've got a phone, so
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. I'll just lean into my phone later and say random things just for a laugh, just so the government can hear it.
I'm just picturing some certain government officials, just listening.
I like hairy armpits. You can have that one for free.
You should direct them at like certain people. Like choose your least favorite cabinet minister.
Yes.
And just direct it at them.
For the record, I picked up my phone. For the audio listeners, I picked up my phone there. That wasn't just me saying that at random. So,
Yeah.
So and then what was interesting is Dom even says here the FBI has her back. She actually says that line. And of course, Darlene immediately follows up with, what? No, they're investigating you, which doesn't surprise us given the conversation earlier. But notably, Dom in the other scene with the nurse or whoever, like, actually kind of insisted, no, I can't use the FBI. But she's actually using it as like a selling point to Darlene here. No, I've got the FBI, I'm fine. But she's almost trying to convince herself.
Yeah, she doesn't really believe it. It's just something easy to say.
Yeah, so she points that out, and she even says, "I have Alexa," and of course, Darlene proceeds to pick up Alexa and smashes it on the floor. Dom finally wakes up and is like, "Whoa, what are you doing? How dare you? What are you doing?"
This has crossed the line too far.
And she gives her a speech about how it's not a friend; it's just a piece of AI that orders paper towels for you. What's her specific wording?
I mean,
yeah. So no, it was a solid scene. It kind of sets up how she kind of convinces Dom, no, you have to go. The Dark Army are probably coming. We need to leave. Let's go. Which is when we cut to Elliot, who is using the USB stick, which was given to him by Price. I'm sure some people have screen capped the small glimpses of these documents that we see on the screen and poured through it for text.
Yeah, we get okay, building something. We see the location, and you get enough just at a quick skim. Yeah, okay, I understand what this is.
The Watership Township plan obviously is mentioned, as is the Congo. Some of these key words that we've already had anyway, but when Darlene and Dom show up and Darlene comes over to speak to him, she's like, "You're not coming with us, are you?" And he's like, "Nope, I'm going back to Washington Township." Thank you.
Yes.
And
you know what? The first time you just said Watership, and I just let it go, and then that time you just really struggled. I was like, "I'm gonna step in."
I don't know why I said Watership.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but anyway, and he says that he's just not finished yet. He's not done, but Darlene is. Darlene says she's not going with him. This was it for her, and they have a bit of a sort of brother sister banter about going on a road trip and what snacks to get or whatever. But it's all very kind of a sweet moment where he hugs her. And notably, this is something that Dom actually sees. She gets, it's after she's at the vending machine. I'll mention that in a second because there's a little detail here that might be worth analysing. But she comes over to the balcony and she sort of sees, and I thought it was interesting that she sees Darlene be a human being with someone else. Because, all of her interaction with Darlene's very much just been her and Darlene. There's been very little of her with Elliot and her witnessing it in a way like this, where it's like, oh, here's her having a human moment where...
Not counting surveillance.
Not counting surveillance, of course, but like what I mean is like, this was like a sort of sweet moment that actually like almost humanized Darlene for her.
Sure.
In a way that maybe wasn't there before. So, but yeah, like, she's at the vending machine and she's getting a drink called Crush, and it won't accept her money. It's one of these, note readers that spits it back out. And she presses it twice and she's rejected. And I thought I couldn't help but notice the wording of the drink, crush, her crush.
Yeah.
And rejection. I couldn't help it. My mind couldn't help but wonder.
It was some of the more blatant symbolism this show's had.
Sure. I mean, honestly, there's some really interesting stuff to talk about later on here, but obviously, I'm telling you, it's been quite low key. It's just them kind of like saying goodbyes. They're going on the run. She comes into the motel room, and Leon is just sitting there, and she's like, "Holy shit!" And she's like terrified. And Leon's like, "Huh?" And she's like,
"Do I know you?"
Yeah, it's like the barn. You shot like 4 people. It's like, oh yeah.
So that sounds like something I did.
Yeah, and she's like, "What? So you're working for them now, or whatever?" I was like, "No, I'm freelance. I go where the money goes." And he goes on this little speech. He brings up the 3 Days of Condor movie, which I've never seen for the record, but
I'm sure there is some. If you have seen it, there is some really obvious deep theme parallel that you could draw from it.
Very possibly, but he talks about how he goes where his money is. He says he's tripled his net profit in the last quarter. He's got an accountant and everything who wants him to incorporate.
Yes.
All very good. He's watching The Land Before Time as well. I noticed this.
I did as well, which I think is not a whole big part of that. I mean, I'm not going to say spoilers for Land Before Time, but I mean, a big part of that is the death of a parent.
Yes.
That's very relevant to the show, and also just choosing a title with time like as such a focus.
Yeah, and the plot's also about the now parentless kids traversing to try and get to this kind of I don't want to say the promised land, but
it kind of is a promised land.
Yeah, but that's this mythical like perfect place that might be a good place to live. Like it's kind of about them going there.
Yeah, a better society.
Yes, so I can't believe I'm talking about Land Before Time, but
hey, that was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I love that movie.
I loved it as a kid as well. I even had like the first 4 or 5 sequels on VHS back in the day. There's like I think there's like 14 of them now. Like there's a lot of them.
That might be too many.
Yeah, just a little bit too many. So yes, and there's a little funny beat here when Darlene comes at the end and she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to mention he's working with us now."
Yeah.
I'll just stand there scared shitless. So they're in the car, they're driving through Connecticut, they're taking the scenic route because it's swarming with Dark Army people, as he puts it, RWAs, which stands for Rich White Assholes, which are the key demographic, and they're traveling through, and he talks about how he has to steal a mirror, which I guess means go for a piss, because then he has to explain it.
I don't know, it felt like something else, didn't it?
Well, I watched the episode twice, and the first time I thought it meant something else, but the second time it sounded like he was just annoyed she didn't know what he meant. He's like, I need to take a whiz. I had too many code reds this morning.
Maybe.
Yeah, because obviously we hear a little bit later from Darlene, because she sort of heard the same thing, and we hear her sort of recount it, and she kind of muddles it up a little bit, but it sounds like he tried to use the same phrase, but he got equally annoyed at her, because one of the things she says is that, oh, I get mad about Americans being illiterate, like.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that I can't figure out, where the phrase would come from.
Oh, I don't know. Don't ask me where "Still America" comes from.
No, I know, but that's why I'm wondering if that is what it means, or because here's the thing. All right, we're just gonna bring this up now. I'm not convinced Leon's entirely working for them. I'm not convinced that the Dark Army are just like, yeah, sure, you go do freelance stuff. I don't know.
Okay, I get why you're saying that. I've got more on the subject later. Not specifically Leon, but
in general, like, because it felt weird last time it came up with Leon, but now this is like, it kind of just feels off, and I'm wondering, is was he actually doing something there, not just going for a piss? I don't know.
Yeah, but would steal a mirror? Why would he tell them what it is if he's going to do something secretive?
No, I don't know. That's what's throwing me off. That's why it just seems so strange. Leon's.
I don't think steal a mirror. I mean, if he is secretly doing stuff for Dark Army, which is a possibility. I don't necessarily think he is, but like it's a possibility. I totally admit. I don't think he would say it in code to them, and then get mad that they don't understand what he means. Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, so she looks at her new passport and it says Jackie Doublehorn is her name. She talks about being Jackie and like who do you think Jackie's like, and he's like, Jackie could be anyone you want her to be. And she's like, that's easy for you to say given who you are. And it's like, nah, do you think Leon's my real name? like that's a good point.
Yeah,
makes a good point. And at the rest stop, we see her sort of in the mirror, kind of practicing like various versions of Jackie. Like Jackie is a chef, or Jackie is a gym teacher. She sort of like trying to build a backstory.
All these different things, yeah.
And it never quite feels right. She comes out. I noticed the camera work here. She comes outside. It's this one big wide shot that pulls up, and it's a very wide shot. Darlene and Dom are very small in the frame, talking about how everyone's kind of probably traveling back home because this is the route to the airport, basically. And the holidays are over. It's time to go back to the grind, as they put it. But Darlene says, "No, I want to show you something." And they sit down on a bench. It's a little park area, and there's a little bit of build up to it. But she pulls out her phone, because this was something that almost happened with Elliot earlier. Actually, she tried to give Elliot the honors of doing this,
and he was like, no, you should be the one. It was kind of your move.
Yeah. And here, so we find out she hadn't done it yet, and she pulls out her phone and she does a little bit of a script, and she kind of, it gets to the end and it says, it's something like wallets all, accounted for or something like that at the end.
Yeah.
And nothing really happens right away, which because I got what she was doing, like I figured out what was happening, but like I was glad that it didn't happen instantly. It's like, yeah, this would take a few seconds at least before people start getting notifications.
Astonishingly fast for cryptocurrency as it is. I'm willing to let it slide because it's their own thing, but I mean, generally speaking, it's still quick.
Yeah. But no, it takes a lot of time. Dom's asking, like, what did you just do? Is this something illegal? Like, what is it you do?
Is that a fetish for you?
What is this, darling? And she eventually just kisses her and says, shut the F up and watch. And this was very reminiscent to me of the end of a movie from the start of the year. And I don't want to spoil it because I can't. This is the end of the movie, but there's a movie at the start of the year that has a very similar ending to this.
I don't know if I've seen this movie.
I don't think you have. And people start getting happy that one of my favourite tracks from season 3 starts playing the music. This sort of happy kind of accomplishment music starts playing. It is so good. And it becomes clear that everyone's just been given money. Like, all that money that they stole from the Dark Army and from the Deus group specifically has all been distributed. And of course, Dom starts talking about this isn't justice, the system's there. And she's like, no, Dom, the reason why these people were able to do what they did, the reason why they were able to steal from everyone for decades and decades is because they basically trusted that we would all trust the system. They counted on that. And because of that, they were able to, abuse the system for their own gain. That's kind of what the power brought them. We just Robin Hood those mother effers. I loved that line.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then after she says that, she starts just yelling and wooing, and Dom's like, "Well, you're drawing attention to us. Everyone, like, we're out in the public. You're drawing attention to us. I don't care."
This was the moment in the episode I got worried that something was wrong because this was far too happy.
Far too happy. Mm-hmm.
When have you ever seen Darlene this happy?
Well, of course not, but that's just kind of thing. We're getting to the end game of the show. She deserves some happiness. Obviously, you want it to be real. Now, don't get me wrong. I get why you have concerns. But I will say this. Now, there might still be concerns to have going into other episodes, but for this episode itself, nothing bad actually happens.
I mean, you could view some things as bad.
Nothing bad really happens. We'll talk about where it goes, but I don't think really that bad happens here. Now, admittedly, we do have to bring up an elephant in the room here. Now, I don't know if it was season 2 or 3, but there was an entire season where there was speculation that Darlene was going to die in a plane crash by the end of the season.
Well, yeah, that was in my mind a lot because it wasn't just Darlene either. It was Darlene and Dom was the theory.
And it didn't click to me right away because obviously they're on the way to the airport for a lot of the episode, but there was a point, I think maybe when they just arrived at the airport or whatever, but it came back into my head and I went, wait a minute.
For me, it hit after they left Elliot. Before that, we knew they were going, we knew they had passports and tickets and whatever, but it was after they left Elliot where it was just the two of them and I was like, hang on, the theory was those two. That's when it kind of sparked.
But however, happy moment. It feels great. It feels great for Darlene to just unleash and scream and yell and be happy. And no one, because this is the beautiful thing about this moment, is that everyone else has already been happy. They're all looking at their phones, checking their bank accounts. Everyone is smiling. Like, there's all these, we get all these shots of various, passerbys, and they're just happy. And Darlene starts yelling, and she doesn't care, and people do look at her, but no one questions it because they're also all happy. It's almost like she created this beautiful moment where she was allowed to actually voice how great she feels about pulling off this hack, and no one's going to question it because everyone around her is just as happy because they've all just had $100,000 or whatever it may be.
Yeah, we never see how much. It's clearly a reasonably sizable amount,
which I think is very smart. I think it'd be a foolish thing to give us the exact amount. I think leaving it vague is a smart idea.
I agree. It's obviously enough that they all noticed it and it felt like a big deal. So it's big enough.
Yeah, but not enough that everyone's going to quit their jobs and never work again.
I would assume not, no. Yeah. And I assume because this was it went into the eCorp currency.
eCoin, yeah.
eCoin, that was the one. So it's presumably just Americans that were using that because it felt like or at least mostly American.
Yeah, I don't know because 5.9 affected like the entire economy, right?
It did. I just don't know how much it entirely caught on in the rest of the world in the the last 6 months.
Yeah, but if this is only getting given back to Americans, that's a bit of a dick move. Given that the majority of the Deus group were from elsewhere, the whole point of the Deus group was that it was the most powerful people from around the entire planet. So, if this is just Americans getting the money back, I call bullshit. And Sam Esmail, I want a word with you, but I want my fair cut.
Pay us now.
Yeah, you bastard. But no, I really like this idea that because my note for this was just a day for cheering, where she gets to just be happy as she wants to be, and no one's going to question it. She kind of created this day where no one would even notice, or they did notice, but they wouldn't say, "Why are you acting like a mad person?" They would be like, "Yeah, of course you're happy. We're happy too. We're all happy." This is what justice looks like, she says to Dom. So. Yeah, we see a look at the social media reactions as well on the way in the car. They get to the airport, they're leaving Leon. Leon says, hey, well, first of all, he says, like, how much did you keep in it for yourself? I presume she gave herself the same cut as everyone else got. At least.
That was interesting, because I'm not sure, because her phone never went off like everyone else's.
She could have it muted.
I mean, she could have done, but I mean, it was notable for me that hers never went off. So I actually felt like she'd excluded herself for whatever reason. I mean, it would have made perfect sense if she had just included herself. Yeah,
but she knows it's coming, so she doesn't need the notification. So, I mean...
No, that's true.
And I think seeing everyone else react to it is confirmation that it's worked.
Oh, yeah, no, it definitely worked. Yeah, I'm not questioning that.
But he also says, hey, you got skills, and, that's kind of high that you're feeling right now. You don't really usually get that being with the normies. He kind of says, hey, you've got a life in this world, this espionage, cyber world. You're good at this. And she says, let me think about it. But, she kind of does say she wants to lay low for a while. And it's like the possibility is open, but there's no like sort of choice made here from Darlene.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So they go inside. Dom goes into one of the stores in the airport. One of these sort of like, I mean, it's mostly a bookstore, but there's a couple of other things there too. And did you remember the name Beach Towel, if it even was mentioned before?
No.
Because I didn't remember it, so I don't know if there was a title before. But I will say, the laugh I let out when it cut to Irving standing there next to his standee, might I add. He's got like a standee of him holding his book.
Because I was watching this with the girlfriend who has only seen most of season 1, and then like the odd episode that she's happened to be in the room where I'm there, and I just burst out laughing, and she just turned and looked at me and was, "What's so funny?" I'm like, "You'll get there."
Irvin's got his book. His book's
yeah. This killed me.
Oh, this was great. And he's like, Dom, long time no see. I can't believe I ran into you. Like, he's just so casual. And like,
let me sign you a copy.
And she is terrified. She is like shitting a brick.
Pretty understandably.
And she's backing up, and because obviously, again, Santiago got chopped to death with an axe. So it was Irving that did that.
I was like, that was fun.
He signs the book and all the rest of it. And she's like, and she said, eventually she says, because he talks for a while on his own, and eventually she's like, please don't hurt us. Because at this point he's noticed Darlene. He's like, hey, you and Elliot's sister, I thought I felt a spark there. Again, he's been very sort of like, as if he's an old friend who's not seen him in a while. Yeah. And eventually she's like, please don't hurt us. And he says, why would I hurt you? And she's like, because I, turned my back on Dark Army and killed my handler. He's like, oh, her. And it doesn't say her name, but he's talking about Janice. He's like, she was a pain in the ass. Like, you did everyone a favor. Like, so that gave me a chuckle. And then he's like, yeah, they don't really care, but the Dark Army, they all kind of like, the word is that they all kind of, went off to something more important, right? And this is what's beautiful about this, is obviously, in a second, we're both going to sit and speculate as to how true this is, whether or not we should believe him, yada, yada, yada. But I do think the beauty of the speculation to this is that I can almost kind of believe that he's more or less out of the game. He's got his book out, and he's just kind of like, he doesn't care enough to. He's not lying because he doesn't care. It's like, no, there's nothing to worry about. Who cares? Like,
no, I get that. That.
It's just plausible enough. However, some details here. First of all, I mean, he's Irving, so do we trust him? That's a big question in of itself.
I mean, his entire nature is just untrustworthy, slimy used car salesman.
Yeah, but I mean, he's off to flogging his book, because I mean, again, this is potentially an important plot detail, but I do love how once he's signed the book, he's like, hey, make sure she pays for this. She's not paid for this. I need to sell this copy. Which, of course, from a plot detail perspective, could be very important, because if he's
what
made
did
her...
he write in there?
Oh no, I didn't think he'd written anything other than his signature.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking more that he's forced her to pay with her e-coin or whatever to confirm that she's there at the airport with her alias. Like, they know who she is now, kind of thing. Or
no, that works.
so they would know that she's there on the plane. So if they're going to do something to the plane potentially, which is obviously something I think we're going to speculate about.
Yes, we are.
They know that they're there. They certainly know that she's there. Via just the data, the raw data that's been pumped.
It's one of those things though where surely just him visually acknowledging yes she is here would have been enough for that.
But he does make. I mean, you could say it being slimy. He just wants a book sale, but he does really emphasize she needs to pay for that book.
Which is why I was thinking, did he write something in it that he's like, okay, she's going to open this at some point and read it?
But something bad though. So I mean, because I'm like, the only way I'd see that playing out in my head would be as if it was like a warning. But I was like, why would Irving give her a warning?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Which is why it feels weird. But that's when there's so many things in this episode that just kind of feel a bit just off and strange.
Because I was thinking during this entire scene that, or even before this scene, when the phones were all going off and Dom looked at her account and said, "Everyone got this much," you know. When that happened, I thought, well, what account did Dom just get that paid into? Because she's got an alias now. Like, is this a new account under the alias that Darlene set up for her? Is this Dom's original account? Like,
yeah,
that's the question. So that's why I was thinking about during this scene. You know, how does she pay for it? Presuming that she pays via e-coin or card or whatever, it would be
yeah, and the name wouldn't match whatever's on a ticket, because in a lot of airports you have to scan your ticket at the till of all the shops.
Yes, and then yeah, and our ticket is our alias for sure, because we see Darlene's ticket several times, and it's like Brit something.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a bit pointless to have the ticket not in the alias, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Yes, throw a bit of a wrench into the the passport checking part of the whole process.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole shtick.
Yeah, so that's like. So obviously, I mean, we'll come back and speculate. I think it's worth going through the rest of the details first, because I think even if you take out all this speculation, there's actually a really good story here just about the characters and their kind of emotional journeys and where it ends for both of them here. Because after this scene, of course, Dom goes back to Darlene, and they, she's like, "Hey, I was there," and he just signed the book, and he says the Dark Army's not after us. I did think it was a bit weird that Dom's ready to just believe that, because she's like, "Hey, the Dark Army's not after us anymore. We don't have to go." But of course, the key thing here is that Darlene does still want to go. She's like, "Yeah, but it's probably still worth going. Budapest is kind of nice.
We're here now. Why not?
Yeah, let's go." She wants to go on a trip with Dom, and Dom's clearly not as enthusiastic. But like, I noticed as well that once Darlene gets up, because the tannoy is like, "Hey,
boarding your flight."
Yeah, boarding your flight. And they have this conversation where Dom's saying, "No, I'm not going to go." I noticed that the camera here, and I actually just on the comment of the episode as a whole, is that the colouring of the episode was a lot more neutral, or dare I say even warm, compared to normal.
It felt bright.
Yes, it was a lot more. Yeah, it was a lot more positive. Typically, this show has a very kind of depressing look to it intentionally, and this felt a bit more hopeful through and through. And I think Dom here and Darlene, not only have we had this colour change for the episode, but in this particular scene, the framing of their close-ups was a lot more normal. Now, it wasn't completely normal. They were still kind of like not quite in the right part of the frame, like in terms of horizontal placement, but the headroom wasn't there. It was a much more normally framed shot for both of them.
Yeah, they were close to fitting in into society, you could say.
Yeah.
Not quite, but close.
So Darlene doesn't want to go alone, and Dom can't let go of things. That's the two key points that both of them make to each other. Is that Dom says to Darlene, "Hey, you can do things on your own. You don't, you can be strong on your own." And Darlene's like, "No, I can't do alone well. Like, you've seen me. I get panic attacks." And the previously Orange reminded us of the previous panic attacks as well. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "No, I can't be on my own. I don't believe in myself." And but alternatively, Darlene to Dom is, "Hey, like, you can't even see your family for however long anyway. You can't be on the job for 6 months. You have literally time to kill here. Like, there's nothing you can do right now. You need to learn to let go. Maybe that's why you can't sleep at night. Maybe that's why you keep getting told to get a good night's sleep, because you just carry everything with you all the time. You never let things go and relax. You never do that.
To be fair, I think a good reason for her to stay at this point is beyond not just letting things go. Is might look a bit suspicious to the FBI if she just disappears right when they need to, clear her and investigate.
True. I mean, yeah, that's true, but I don't think that's like something that we really need to think about too much in this scene. Again, I think at this point in the show, or this point in the episode, we're really just looking at these two characters and what makes them tick and what they both need. And I think what's great about the way this last 5-10 minutes of the episode wraps up is that it does this thing where it makes us really want something. It doesn't give it to us. It subverts our expectations. But Sam Esmail is such a good writer that the subversion of expectations actually is more emotionally satisfying than what we thought we wanted a minute ago. And is exceptionally well done. It's beautiful writing. Because this scene kind of ends where they realise, Dom hugs her and she's crying. She's like, no, you can go on your own. You'll be fine. You'll be strong. And I need to stay here.
And she gives her a number to basically to get a job in cybersecurity. Yeah,
cybersecurity. And I actually really liked the lines here, but even before the music kicked in to make it kind of seem cool. But I liked when she said, and don't leave it too long. For when you grow up, don't leave it too long. Call them and get a job. And when she says don't leave it too long, obviously I'm thinking she's going to say something kind of, motherly almost, like, hey, you have to, be a grown up at some point. But instead she says, no, don't leave it too long. They need you. This idea that, hey, you could actually be such a force for good with how good you are at this. That you actually,
Go on.
No,
I think this actually really contrasts really well with Leon, because his offer, because at the end of this episode, Darlene's essentially left with the alternatives. Does she want to be do something good and for the country, so to speak, right? Or does she want to do go down like Leon's path and do well, you make money, you're good at this, and it's which direction does she choose, or the adventure as well with Leon, I suppose.
Yeah, but it was a nice moment. It was a nice kind of recontextualization of what she can be and what she could do after this show, what after this world is done, assuming she's alive at the end of it. But we'll see that'll be give or take as we go. But obviously when she says they need you, Darlene puts on her her sunglasses and says they can't handle me. And then Carly Rae Jepsen starts playing that electronic bagpipe or whatever it is that starts off Run Away With Me. Even the title of the song's on the nose for what's happening here. There's literally a choice here of running away with her or not. And Darlene goes to the gate, goes to line up to get on the plane, and Dom is leaving. And what's great is this music's playing is that it makes a clear point of showing you the signs as Dom's leaving. This is all gates are this way. She's walking away from it, and then eventually she gets to the point of no return. Once you left this part of the airport, you can't just turn around and come back. You have to go through security again, essentially. Yeah. And one thing I noted is that the music always stopped. There was two key points in this where the music stopped, and there were both moments where they make a choice. It was Dom at this no entry, or no, no returns, and she turns around and starts going. And obviously, the music kicks back up as she starts running up the stairs, and she's running to the gate, trying to get there in time for the big romantic, just getting there in time to get in the airplane or the airplane with her. And Darlene, alternatively, is at the gate, and the music stops for her when she kind of hesitates and makes the choice to not give her the boarding pass. And she then chooses to run, and it does this cruel thing. Esmail is so cruel, where you really want it to happen now. You're really rooting for them to both be on the plane together, forgetting the fact that you might in the back of the head think it might kill them. Yeah. But you really want them to have the happy moment where they meet each other again. And Darlene runs to the bathroom, and it's just when she's out of frame, Dom runs in from the side to join the queue. So now we're at a point where Dom's getting on the plane thinking Darlene's already on it, but Darlene's not on the plane. Darlene is in the bathroom having a panic attack.
Yep.
And Dom's on the plane after this, and she's hesitating. She almost gets off or makes a fuss and doesn't, sits down. And what's beautiful about this, and the reason why I like this, is that basically by following each other's advice is what's led to this. Because the beauty of this is that as much as we all kind of think we want the big romantic, they get together, they go on the plane together, we want that moment. Dom, by getting on the plane and letting go, finally gets to sleep. The final shot of the episode is her snoozing on the plane. She's finally sleeping like a baby because she's actually let things go. She's taken the advice that she needed to hear, and it's helped her, for better or worse. And Darlene has the panic attack, sort of regains control and says, no, I can take care of myself, refuses help from the person who's in the bathroom with her, and like, no, I can take care of myself, I can do this. And it's like, yes, she had to learn to stop running. She had to learn to, be a part of the system. She can't always be on the fringes and, be this underground person that she has been.
Yeah, and I think it's less just that as well, and more that she can do things on her own. That's a point she makes to this woman, that she doesn't need the help. But I think that's why her not being on the plane with Dom works, because now she's making that choice to be on her own.
Yeah, exactly. They're both following each other's advice, and that's why I think it is important that because Dom's advice to her is very much you can't always be running. You can't always be this type of person. You eventually have to be part of something, and whatever choice she is going to make. But here's the real reason why I knew that Darlene wasn't going to go on the plane, or at least not for long. I mean, there's always a chance there's going to be a time jump and she'd be back later. But last week, Mr. Robot said in the mind of Elliot that she is the only one who could maybe wake him up.
Yes. And
there is no way in hell that we're not seeing Darlene again before the end of this show.
There's not a chance. Just something I forgot to mention last week when we talked about that room. More the hallway actually, with Mr. Robot walking in the hallway. Is it's a slight tangent here, but I thought it was really interesting how the exit sign was green. It's the European style of exit signs, as opposed to the red, which is the American type, which is what the show has obviously been set in America, and all the exit signs, the red exit sign has been a recurring theme in the entire show. So I thought it was really stark how that was, this green exit sign. It was an interesting choice.
It's a good exit that you want to make the choice to exit through, as opposed to the bad exit, which is you escaping from the thing you should be facing.
Yeah, but I just thought it was a really interesting choice to do with that, and I think it stood out just because it was the only green one we've had in the show that I can recall. So yeah.
Don't make any statements like that. Everyone's going to go back.
I said that I can recall.
Yeah, but why would you recall if there's been any green exercise before? That's such a weird thing to notice throughout 4 seasons of a TV show.
It is. But the point is, I think in America, by law, they have to be red, or at least in New York and stuff. It's a regulation that they have to be red exit signs. So that's why I'm pretty confident in saying they haven't. And if they haven't, then there was a damn good reason for it at the time that I'm just overlooking right now. Yes.
That's an interesting point. I love this ending, because to me this was like, because it really made me want the big romantic get together, right? It really made me want that.
It does, yeah.
Right? And it didn't give it to me, and you're like, damn it, Esmail, you're a cruel bastard. But then at the end of the episode, they both have become better. They've both completed arcs by following the other's advice, and it's actually really satisfying. So to me, this is how you subvert expectations, but you make the result more interesting and more emotionally satisfying than what it was before. So I suppose we have to speculate now, don't we?
Yeah, like just this very final moment with it's Dom asleep on the plane, and it's quiet. You've just got the engine noise and the whatever they're saying over the speakers, and you could see this as peaceful, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if this is just me projecting, because it's already in my mind as a concept. But this felt borderline sinister, like something was about to go wrong.
Yeah, I think that's you projecting. It's not so much to say that I think it's definitely peaceful and not sinister. I think the point is that it's neither. It is completely neutral, and whatever you're bringing to it is what you're reading from it.
No, that makes sense, and that's why I say peaceful, in the sense that the presentation of peaceful, because Dom is finally asleep, right? And that's something that's been a recurring theme here, that she needed this sleep. So her that release, she finally got that, is peaceful, right? She's quiet, she's asleep, which is why I go with that angle. But it very well might be me projecting. It just felt like, because again, coming off of all the big bombastic music running moment that we just had. This here, it's so quiet, and she's just on a plane. It just felt like something was about to go wrong. And I agree. Probably me projecting, but I just felt it.
Part of me honestly thinks that Esmail wants us to be thinking about all these things, so that the fact that we'll never hear about this plane, and we just assume it landed and she's fine, is almost a twist in and of itself. It's like, no, you kept.
Yeah, no, he knows full well what we've all been
Yeah.
speculating. He knows about this plane theory. That's why it was a subversion in itself not to have Darlene get on the plane just because of that the way that theory has been. And again, it might not have ever even been an intentional theory. It might have just that he was seeding. It might have been just something people picked up on. A coincidences here or there, and then as the human brain does, looks for the patterns.
If I remember correctly, it was just like some posters of planes like behind her head at one point, right?
That was parts of it. There's a lot of planes around scenes with Darlene. Even going back to season 1, there's scenes where there's the air traffic control towers just flashing behind her and it's only flashing when it's Darlene in camera. When you can see someone else, it's off, which was kind of an interesting thing. And then there's some lines of dialogue where they use the word planes and flight and stuff like that between the pair of them.
It's totally It's totally believable that this is just a complete coincidence, and it's all just fan Reddit nonsense.
Absolutely. Like I say, the human brain loves to make connections and see things that aren't there just because it looks like a pattern.
Part of me thinks that there was never going to be a scene in an airport, and the only reason why it even exists in this context is because of these theories that Esmail wanted to poke fun at.
Because he knew it was a theory. Because we know he's aware of a lot of these things. I know he looks at Reddit and stuff and sees what people are thinking. He's pretty communicative with the fan base in general, so he's aware of it for sure. And it might well be that there was never anything. He's like, I'm going to put a seed on a plane just to have those people worry and kind of and then and that subversion just for them. Whereas if you'd never heard of this theory and you're just coming at this fresh, there is nothing here that doesn't play, that doesn't still work as a.
No, there's absolutely nothing that's forced to kind of make it jive with like people who thought that about these theories or anything like that.
As much as we're saying, he might have done this just as a joke at their expense, or our expense for that matter.
Oh yeah, when I say that that this scene may only exist, what I really mean is just the setting in an airport. It may have been a bus station that if that theory didn't exist, it might have been any number of places where they could have done a similar type of beat.
Absolutely. So that's what I mean. As much as it might only exist because of that, it doesn't feel like it was forced in just for the sake of a joke.
No, if they're going on the run after all this, I mean, an airport makes sense to go to. It's just nothing about it feels, self-indulgent or extraneous or whatever.
Nothing about that feels like a strange choice for them to make.
I honestly do. If I was to put money on it, I would say that we're not seeing Dom again, and this is our happy ending, and that nothing bad happens to the plane. If you were to ask me which way I'm leaning towards, that's what I'm leaning towards.
Do you know what? If we hadn't had the scene with Irving, I would be 100% with you.
But the Irving's
Irving throws doubt on it for me, where I'm going, well, maybe there is something to it now.
Maybe there's something to read with Irving scene all and the threat to them. No, maybe it's more the idea that he really should be culpable in a lot of the things that have happened. Not because he's necessarily...
He's out there on a book tour.
Yeah, not so much that he's obviously part of the dealership, because he's not like one of those rich people, but in the sense that, he's done some vile things working for the Dark Army. He's this complete and utter scumbag in a lot of ways, and he's relishing in this post... hack boom. He gets to... Everyone's going to be able to afford his book now.
Yep. Well, until inflation hits.
Oh dear. Don't poke holes in it.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
I saw people on Reddit complaining about, but inflation will just make this all redundant. And I'm like, stop tearing it apart like this. You're just sucking the fun out of all of it.
I was just making a joke. I'm not being. I don't really care. I'm not poking holes in it. I'm not really serious. It's just, yeah, sure. In a real world situation, yeah, that probably would happen. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because it's a TV show. God damn it.
Yes. So. No, I just it's almost a bittersweet thing that he's getting away with it all, is what I was getting to. And he's flourishing almost. He's got his fancy book and he's doing a book tour.
Cheap suit.
And his cheap suit, yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting, just this idea to bring up hey, some of these people are still going to get away with it, and even the rich people who get stolen from, they're not going to be completely screwed, all of them, after this.
For the most part, there's no proof that they did anything illegal, right? They're not all getting arrested. They're just poor.
Yes. So we'll see.
That said, I wonder, because a lot of those probably had eCoin wallets. Would it have been distributed into them as well, so they're on level playing ground with everyone else still?
Maybe, yeah. Well, it's all a little bit behind because everyone else had whatever they already had.
Yeah,
no,
that's true. But
so, which might not be that much,
depending on who it is, yeah.
But yeah. But let's say it was $100,000, say, right? I think that's enough to give all these reactions that I'm seeing. And
just a nice round. I mean, honestly, it probably wouldn't even need to be that much for most people to react like that.
True.
Like, honestly, if you put like $5,000 into everyone's account and everyone just went, wait, I just got $5,000, they'd be pretty happy.
Most people would be extremely happy with that. Yeah, it could be that low. My guess is more in the tens.
No, I agree. I agree. It's probably significantly more than what I just said. I just, as a low ball, in theory, I'm not going to do the working out because I don't care that much. But yeah, that would probably be enough to give people that reaction, I would have thought.
I would assume it'll be more than what the average salary in the country as a year. That's my guess.
Probably because we see like some tweets referring to it as eCoin payday.
Yeah. I think one of them even mentioned that they were going to use it to elope, and I thought, well, it has to be a sizable amount if you can, it's a life-changing amount of money, but it's not I can give up my job and just coast.
Which is why I'm thinking probably not quite as much as 100, because some people would probably go, well, that'll do me for years. I'll stop working. Whereas, to elope, 5 to 10 grand, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end of the day.
No. I think it's smart not to give us an exact number. I think it's just great just to leave it, because basically what it does is in our mind, it's just whatever sounds valuable to us as opposed to what the real world implications of it are. Because any exact figure, someone's going to poke holes in it and go, well, technically so many people make this a year anyway, or so many people, having it be this mythical amount that we don't know, it lets us just sort of say, well, what's valuable to us? It's that amount, and just leave it at that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it doesn't, as much as it, like I say, it would change the lives for people who didn't have any money to people who were on very well-paying jobs, but they weren't anywhere near the Deus group, but they were on more than comfortable jobs,
upper middle class.
Yeah, there's still a significant wealth gap between them, right? Like that hasn't changed. They just because they got the money as well.
Yeah. So no, I think some people were upset this episode. But when I was looking online, there was I saw the word filler being put around.
I think filler is an absolutely terrible choice of word for this episode, but I can understand why people are disappointed in the sense where they're thinking, oh, there's only a handful left. They want more action. They want to see.
I'm the opposite. I am delighted that this, because I think the problem with a lot of season finales is that they don't take time to do these character focused episodes.
Again, I really enjoyed this. I want to make that clear. I'm with you on this. I just said I can understand why there are people who feel the way they do. I understand their mindset, even if I don't agree with it.
I don't understand. I think they're wrong. They're just dead wrong. They're just wrong. Right. All I heard from you Game of Thrones fans was how bad this last season was because it was only 6 episodes. You know what? No, this is what you get when you get 13 to actually flesh it out and actually give everything the time it deserves to explore what it's impacting the characters.
Only being 6 episodes was not the problem with Game of Thrones final season, to be honest with you. It had fundamental writing problems that went way beyond just the limited scope of the length. I don't know, why are you trying to make me defend Game of Thrones? I am on your side here. I think this is a fantastic episode. I like everything here.
Well, stop trying to justify people with bad opinions.
I'm just saying, I understand the thought process of why some people would expect something more exciting, objectively exciting, as opposed to emotionally fulfilling. They're shallow, vapid. People are people. What do you want? Emotionally
fulfilling will often exceed, for me, anything else in a show.
I know, I'm with you.
And it's feeling the way I do during some of the scenes towards the end of this that makes sticking with the show for 4 years in this case, worth that time and effort.
I can't believe you're making me seem like the bad guy here.
Oh, it's so easy. Stop making it easy. Oh dear. But that is episode 10 of the season. We have 3 episodes left, but notably only 2 weeks left, because the last two I read today, assuming the information I saw was correct, the last two are airing together as a double on I think it's the 22nd of the month. So
that is the Sunday, yes.
Yeah. So
that is going to be probably quite a meaty discussion from us, because it's a 2-part giant finale of the entire show.
Yeah, we've been kind of approaching around an hour for most of the episodes this season, so that's going to be 2 hours or so.
Unless whatever happens next week, unless it gets to that final bit and it's just, here are all the beats you kind of expect to happen.
We'll still talk for 2 hours on that. You kidding me?
We probably will. It's a really good job I got that Monday off, isn't it?
We're still going to talk about that for at least 2 hours when we get to the finale. I might even be able to repeat the remember the Twin Peaks return finale?
Oh god, do you know what? I'm in early Tuesday morning. We might have to start a little bit earlier.
The Twin Peaks return finale, I think that final review was over 3 hours, but
was it that long?
It was split in two for the audio. I remember it being split in two for the audio, so I think it was. I mean,
I'm kind of intrigued now.
Let's go check. Episode 17 and 18, it would have been a Twin Peaks return.
I just put Twin Peaks return into this. 2 hours 52.
Yeah, almost 3 hours.
Yeah, that had a shitload of meat in it.
Buckle up, folks. We could be going into overtime.
Yeah, and yeah.
But anyway, that is us. So thank you very much for joining us for Mr. Robot Season 4, Episode 10. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and ding the bell on YouTube for the notifications. All these things help, as does rating the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. More people will find us that way. And it's not just obviously for these Mr. Robot reviews, because we have all of our other reviews on there. Right now, Watchmen's going up on there, as is The Mandalorian. Of course, we have the Netflix feed for all the Netflix shows. But so do that. That does help us a lot. You can also help us by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and financially support us for as little as $1 per month. And you get bonus outtakes, and you get extra episodes of some of the movie podcasts we do. And then there's voting rights and producer credits and all the things at the higher tiers. So go and have a look and see if you're interested in doing any of that and helping us out. Otherwise, that is us though. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?